Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love to the author and me. On to the show. Shining Star System. The largest planet, the Shining Star. Zian and his party visited the planet in a down-to-earth manner. Original. The planets in the entire Shining Star System are all very desolate planets. But only for a year. Everything has changed here. Under the action of gravity maintenance system. Even though this shining star is huge in size and mass. But the gravity is about the same as the Earth. Under the influence of ecological maintenance system. Looking around, the wind is gentle, the sun is beautiful, the birds are singing and the flowers are fragrant. Various animals can be seen everywhere. These animals. They are all artificially cultivated in large quantities. Have as much as you want. Today's era. At least animals are no longer endangered. Wow. It's really not wrong here. It is truly a planet transformed by technological future architecture. This texture, this atmosphere, these scenery, it's as if they should belong to this planet, without any sense of dissonance. Bai Xiaoyuan's big pink eyes were sparkling, and her two big ears were shaking constantly, showing her inner joy. Hu Qiqi nodded in agreement and said, "Indeed. There's really nothing to say about this texture. It doesn't look like a transformed planet at all, it looks more like a living planet that exists in its own right. In the universe. Whether the planet has been transformed or not is usually easy to see. The more perfect the transformation, the less visible it is. Just like this planet, it was originally a lifeless and barren star. There are mountains, but stone mountains. Not to mention rivers, lakes, and seas. If you want to transform all of these, you also need to transform them so that they look like they should be, without any sense of disobedience. Indeed, only the 12 superpowers such as science and technology future architecture can do this. Clear water, colorful flowers, trees, and blue sky, and various small animals can be seen everywhere. Every glance is a scenery. There will be plenty of time to look at it later. Now let's prepare to evolve the starship. Zian said. The girls nodded repeatedly. After that, they drove their respective starships to the south pole of the planet. The south pole of this planet is also shaped like the Earth. The temperature, and the life that lives here. Such as penguins. The Starship Evolution Factory is built here. In this way, it will not occupy the location of some of the original living areas of the planet, thereby affecting the beauty. Anyway, this planet is big enough, with one south pole, enough to house a very large evolution factory, and the size of this super large evolution factory is even enough to provide the supreme ship for evolution here. If it is not enough in the later stage, it can be expanded. Or later build a space evolution factory on a certain planet, or directly in space. In short, in such a large star system, there should be no room for evolving starships. The various facilities in the evolution factory are also complete enough. Present. Then the month-long starship evolution began. When Zian evolved the starship. After a full 8 months of outbreak, those battlefields have not calmed down. On the contrary, the situation became more and more intense. Inhumans and insectoids. Constantly sending large numbers of personnel into the battlefield. The cosmic human race should not give up, and they are completely willing to accompany him to the end. Zian. The human race of the universe is not at a loss either. Because the Inhumans and the insects do not dare to unite. Although the humans and the Inhumans are at war. However, the fight between the Inhumans and the insects was equally fierce and ferocious. There are even some battlefields where the war between the Inhumans and the insects is much more violent. For countless years, the hatred accumulated between the three peak overlord groups was definitely not the result of them joining forces to deal with the human race just because they hated Zian at the same time. Hate Zian and hate Zian. But they also fought fiercely with each other. Even at that time, Zian used space wormholes to go to the Inhumans and insects and cause a lot of damage. As a result, these two ethnic groups were defeated steadily by the human race. In that case, the war between these two groups has never stopped. Under such circumstances, among the three ethnic groups, no one took advantage. Everyone has victory and everyone has failure. The human race of the universe is no exception. Especially here at Ime Nebula. It can be said that the three ethnic groups are going crazy. Every day, countless people died. Every day, countless personnel will be added. In the interstellar age of the universe, the most important thing is people. 1 month later, the brilliant fleet Starship has evolved. At this moment, all members of the brilliant fleet have entered the era of intermediate star destroyers. Zian, shall we go to the A-level battlefield next? Haitang asked. She knows. The Starship has evolved. It's time for the brilliant fleet to embark on the journey again. I don't know exactly where to go. Zian did not answer immediately, but asked with great interest, I heard. That Babalutru, is he still insisting on waiting for me on the battlefield every day? This month, Zian is evolving starships and doesn't know much about the outside world. The girls nodded immediately. Qin Fuyue covered her lips and said with a smile, that fool was originally frightened by you. Those people in Green Munsa, who were ranked much higher than him, all died in our hands. He was already scared out of his wits. They have already run away. But they were held back by the insectoid people. Originally, he was the one who started the challenge to you. It attracted the attention of the whole universe, and also attracted so many unparalleled geniuses to follow him. Even the deaths of Green Manhwa and others were inflicted on Babalutru. Because if Babalutru hadn't arrogantly challenged you, Green Manhwa and the others probably wouldn't have come. Although we all know that, in fact, these have nothing to do with Babalutru, but the angry people of the insect race don't care about that. When you saw Babalutru running away without a fight, you were frightened and you insulted him crazily. Even the most outstanding geniuses of the insect race sneered at Babalutru. In short, how much he mocked you at that time has now been added to his body 10 times or 100 times. As a last resort, Babalutru, who cannot bear the pressure, can only bite the bullet and continue to challenge you on the battlefield. Fortunately, he also has helpers. I've been waiting for you to show up until today. Then almost every day, the geniuses of our three ethnic groups would have a fight. It's just that there was no death. Listening to Qin Fuyue's introduction, Zian nodded clearly. Xingyang and the others have not left during this period. Babalutru openly challenged himself. How could his own peerless talent sit idly by and watch them become so arrogant and domineering? It's impossible. These 8 months. The peerless geniuses also spend almost every day in battle. However, since they are peerless gods, good kings, and good, arrogant people, when the cultivation levels of both parties are almost the same, death is hard to come by. If you can't fight, you can still run. Once you really want to run away and kill the opponent, the possibility is really slim. Presumably, this Babalutru must also have the idea of running away if he can't beat him. Otherwise, if you continue to challenge yourself even though you know that you will definitely die, isn't that a mental illness? Thinking of this, Zian immediately said, since he wants to challenge me so much. That's okay, let him be fulfilled, but I'll tell you first. When the time comes, all the geniuses from the inhuman and insect races will die, but keep it for me. I can't kill him. Hearing Zian's words, all the girls looked at each other in confusion. Sometimes, being alive is more uncomfortable than being dead. I remember all the words he scolded me on the internet. It's so boring to kill him so easily. Zian explained with a smile. Only. That smile of his. Somewhat sinister. On the A-level battlefield. 8 months. From B-level battlefield, it was upgraded to A-level. It must have been extremely confusing at first. The mortality rate is much higher than it is today. But as these 8 months passed, more powerful warriors were replaced, and the battlefield gradually stabilized. Death rates began to decline. Although the death rate is much higher than that of normal A-level battlefields, at least it will not be so disorderly. Speaking of A-level battlefields, the defenders on the human side of the universe. I still know Zian. This person is no one else. It is Mr. Lu Molu, the most powerful person in the Supreme Ship. Don't look at it, Mr. Lu is only at the First Order Supreme Ship level. But Mr. Lu used to be known as the god of border war. And he is also a truly peerless Supreme Ship captain. Therefore, even if it is only the First Order Supreme Ship level, facing the Inhumans and the insects, the two Supreme Ship Guardians were absolutely evenly matched. Oh, I'm talking about 1v2. If it's 1v1. Unless the opponent runs very fast. Otherwise, we will fight to the death. The final winner must undoubtedly be Mr. Lu. There is no doubt about this. Mr. Lu, you have been guarding here for such a long time. I have never met Zian even once. But he also understands. Gdao 933, Zian is very busy now. I didn't bother Zian either. But just today, Mr. Lu, he actually went to greet Zian in person. Seeing this situation, the seniors and others were all frightened. They seem to still underestimate Zian's current status in the human race of the universe. Although they all know that Zian is Mr. Lu's savior. However, Mr. Lu could do this to such an extent that he even went out to greet him. It is enough to show what position and holds in Mr. Lu's mind. Don't say too much. At least, in Mr. Lu's mind, Zian is at the same level and equal to him. Mr. Lu, it's you? Zian was also surprised to see that the guard here was Mr. Lu. Lu Mu said with a hearty smile, haha, why can't it be me? Why, this Ime Nebula only allows you to come, but not me. Zian waved his hands repeatedly, that can't be done, that can't be done. I just didn't expect that the one who came here to guard was actually you. Of course I'm very happy to see it's you. Lu Mu smiled and said, okay, this period of time has passed, and your cultivation has improved a lot. Gee, I'm curious, do you really have no bottleneck period? The moment I saw Zian. Lu Mu has already sensed Zian's current level of cultivation. In my heart, it was a surprise. Just as he said. In his eyes. Zian, it's as if there is really no bottleneck period. As long as organisms are capable, they can evolve. The most outrageous thing is that the girls in his dazzling fleet are all the same as him. This made him very confused. Zian smiled and said nothing more. His eyes scanned the scene. Come out to greet. Except for Mr. Lu Molu. Senior Lu is also there. There are also 4 or 5 township captains. The rest of the Jinyu ship captains seem to have either gone to fight, or were guarding other areas. Lord Su, I have long admired you. As expected of a brilliant genius, what happened 8 months ago really made our human race proud and proud. Yeah, TSK, you used yourself as bait to trick 2 captains of the world-destroying ship to death. With such a demeanor, he should be considered the first person of this generation of the human race in our universe. These township captains are not stingy in their praise. It even gave Zian the title of the first person of the younger generation. All these performances fully demonstrate that Zian's current status is really different. Even if he's just a Star Destroyer captain. They are polite. Of course Zian would not really trust him. He smiled and chatted with them. Chatting for a while. Lu Mu suddenly asked, you came here this time, are you coming to the battlefield of the geniuses of the insects and inhumans? Tianjiao battlefield, a special word. Or it can also be called the genius battlefield. In fact, the areas on various battlefields where geniuses and geniuses appear and fight with each other are called genius battlefields. The Tianjiao battlefield location is not fixed. It is based on the fact that wherever the geniuses and geniuses fight, that is the battlefield of geniuses. Now the battlefield of Tianjiao in Lumu's mouth. Of course, it's the area where Babalutru and the others have been fighting for the past few months. Zian didn't hide anything and nodded calmly, yes. I came here just for this genius battlefield. I thought that after killing those peerless geniuses of Green Manhwa, the peerless geniuses of the Inhumans and insects would cease to exist. I didn't expect it to arouse their anger. In that case, then let's deal with it together. There is no reason to reject the head that is delivered to your door. Zian spoke calmly. It was as if those peerless geniuses were nothing in his eyes. In fact, except for the top 100 geniuses on the genius list. Those peerless geniuses who are ranked after 100. There really is no one who can fight. Zian is definitely qualified to say this. But Lumu and the others didn't know this. They looked at each other with some worry in their eyes. But no one said anything. Because this is Zian's own decision. It's hard for them to say anything. What's more, Zian's various achievements over the years have proven that he is definitely not a burial ground. That being the case, I believe that since he dared to say these words and make these decisions, then he must be sure of it. Thinking of this, Lumu just reminded, currently, the geniuses are on the battlefield. There are 3 strongest ones. They are the insect race, number 70 on the prodigy list, and the captain of the starship. Then there's the Inhumans, number 68 on the prodigy list, and also the captain of the starship Yizong. On our human side, the strongest one is Xingyang. The total number of peerless geniuses gathered from the 3 parties exceeds 100. The weakest ones are all Star Destroyer captains. Those Star Destroyers and Immortals, I'm not worried about you. But void ships, vertical starships. You'd better pay more attention to yourself. Zian raised his eyebrows. The 3 unparalleled geniuses, gathered in total, exceeded hundreds of people. It's time to say it or not. This kind of scene has not happened in the universe for many, many years. That is a peerless talent. There are only 400 to 500 people in the entire universe. In other words, this time, 1/5, or even nearly 2/5, of the unparalleled geniuses in the universe have gathered here. How terrifying. Although the more powerful peerless geniuses did not appear, such as those in the first 50. But, according to the intelligence, it seems that from the insects and Inhumans, there are already stronger geniuses on their way over. The reason why it never appeared? Very simple. That's because he didn't show up. Now as long as I show up, if nothing unexpected happens, it won't be long. Those top 50 geniuses will definitely appear one after another. Of course, the premise is that their peerless talent cannot do anything to them. Then those top 50 geniuses will definitely come and eradicate themselves. Zian nodded and said, I understand, Mr. Liu. Don't worry, I won't be stupid enough to go head-to-head with those peerless geniuses at the level of void ships or even vertical starships. Lumu said, in that case, I won't talk too much. You decide everything by yourself, on the battlefield. No matter how fierce the fight is around. There was an area where no one dared to approach. Even around this area. There are also Jinyu ship captains from 3 ethnic groups who are specially guarding here. Purpose: just to prevent someone from suddenly taking action against the peerless geniuses in this area. And in it, there are more than 100 starships in total, fighting continuously. The area in front of us is a relatively large star system. At least it once was a star system. Because the stars in it have been blown up long ago, most of the planets are also in ruins. Under such circumstances, there are still planets being blown up. Fighting. Extremely intense. At this time, Xingyang gasped and kept escaping. His starship was in dilapidated condition. Behind him, it was a grotesque vertical starship that was chasing him. And behind this vertical starship, there was another strange starship pursuing it. The pursuit lasted for a while. The starship in the middle seemed to be angry and stopped pursuing Xingyang. It turned around and fought with the starship behind it. This gave Xingyang a moment of rest. However, I haven't rested for long. Xingyang rushed forward again and launched an indiscriminate attack on the two starships. The three starships suddenly got into a melee once again. But from the current point of view, Xingyang is the weakest. Soon, Xingyang started running away again. He was cursing as he ran. Look around again. It was basically a melee scene. However, at this time, almost all the starships in the melee seemed to have suddenly pressed the pause button. All the fighting stopped. Even the captains of the Jinyu ships from the three groups guarding here all looked in the direction of the human race. See, in sight. A fleet is flying towards this side at an extremely fast speed. Around the fleet. It is a town ship, escorting the entire journey. After the fleet was sent here, the Jinyu ship turned back and left. Then its safety will be taken over by the township here. Oh, isn't this my brother Su? Seeing this fleet, Yang immediately begged happily, "You are finally here. Haha, mad, without you guys, it feels like there's no point in fighting." Along with his words. Then there were shouts. "Su Zian. Long respected name. Hiss, I feel like I'm stronger again. Haha, Lord Su, you are so hated by others. When you come here, good guy, I feel like these inhumans and insects want to eat you." Words from the peerless geniuses of the human race kept ringing in Su Zian's communicator. Some people know it, and some don't. Su Zian also responded with a smile. "Su Zian. You are finally willing to show up." As expected, soon, a cold voice sounded on the cosmic public channel of the communicator, whether it was from the inhumans or the insects geniuses. Not only that. The cosmic humans present can feel it clearly. The moment Su Zian and the brilliant fleet appeared, waves of monstrous anger surged towards Su Zian. This anger even included the captains of the two Jinyu ships of the inhuman race and the insect race. If it weren't for the last bit of reason restraining their behavior, I'm afraid that the moment they saw Su Zian, they had already killed him at all costs. Su Zian ignored them and opened the universe public channel, his voice cold and flat. "What do you mean I am willing to show up? Aren't you guys a bunch of losers, clamoring to challenge me every day? Aren't you clamoring that I don't dare to accept the challenge? Now that I'm here, let's stop talking nonsense. Who comes first? Or both? With these enemies of the century, there is no nonsense at all. Just go straight in with a single knife." Humph. Arrogant. It's really arrogant. Do you really think that among the most talented people of our generation, you are truly invincible? I'll do it. I hope your strength is as good as your attitude. Su Zian, I want to challenge you. Do you dare or not? They are all unparalleled geniuses. They are all arrogant people. Although Su Zian's strength is indeed quite strong. But, in their view, the reason why Su Zian was able to leapfrog and kill like that was mainly because of the help of the brilliant fleet. They had all seen the video of the time Green Manhwa was attacked. It is undeniable that although Su Zian is at the Star Destroyer level, he already has the strength of a void ship. No one can deny this. However, to say it is stronger, they don't believe it. They are also all unparalleled geniuses. In the video, if it weren't for the help of the brilliant fleet, Su Zian would never be able to be so powerful. At least that's what they think. Angry in itself. Now Su Zian is so arrogant, naturally I can't bear it. At once, a peerless genius of the void ship level from the inhuman race jumped out and challenged Su Zian. Not waiting for Su Zian to respond. The human race was the first to refuse to agree. TSK. You bunch of losers, void ships, challenge a Star Destroyer to a duel? Where do you get the dogface from? We, Su Zian, are just Star Destroyers. I'm so sorry that you have such an awesome tone about a void ship. Hey, a void ship launched a duel against a star destroyer. This is the first time I have seen it in all my years. Come on, since you are shameless, we don't want it either. I am a void ship. I also challenge you. Accept it or not. The geniuses on the human race's side suddenly started to mock. Those sarcastic tones made the peerless geniuses on the inhuman race blush red in the face. But under normal circumstances, the Inhumans would have jumped away from such verbal ridicule. This time, it was so stunned that no one said a word. The void ship captain who challenged Zian had a red face, but he refused to leave. Zero, please give me flowers. Including the insectoids. The Terrans were mocking. Under normal circumstances, the insects would not let go of this opportunity to mock the Inhumans. But this time, unexpectedly, not a single person opened his mouth to ridicule. They are not stupid. The Inhumans are not stupid, and the insects are not stupid either. Although I firmly believe that Zian will never be too powerful. Zian is now a star destroyer. They can accept it by leapfrogging and killing ordinary immortal ships, or even fighting evenly with void ships. But it is said that Zian can easily kill the void ship, who is also a peerless genius. Do not believe. Absolutely don't believe it. What does this damn thing mean? Both are peerless geniuses. But in the eyes of Zian, a peerless genius. Are these peerless geniuses just like ordinary people? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. So, no one from the Inhumans said a word. The insectoids didn't join in the mocking either. Even if the Inhumans hadn't taken the lead in challenging Zian. The insect race will also send out a void ship captain to challenge Zian in a duel. Faceless. It is indeed important. But compared to killing Zian, it doesn't seem that important anymore. Just kill Zian. Everything is easy to say. Seeing that this group of people was going to play shamelessly to the end, the human race was also completely angry. The captain of a void ship who had fought alongside Zian a few months ago suddenly appeared. Run directly to the opposite side of the opponent. He said angrily, "Don't you want to challenge? Come on. Get through your grandfather and me first." Why? The other party insisted on being shameless to the end and said calmly, "Humph, the one I want to challenge is Zian, not you. I don't want to fight you either. My goal here this time is to have a fight with Zian." Zian, you still don't dare? A few words. It completely angered Xingyang and the others. I've seen shameless people. I have never seen such a shameless person. You, a void ship captain, insist on challenging a star destroyer. I really have you. The key is to remain calm in the face of so much ridicule and ridicule, Ox. You are really awesome. Still singled out? Are you singled out? Xingyang and others were angry. I just wanted to kill them directly, but I stopped talking nonsense with them. Suddenly, Zian's voice suddenly sounded, "Okay. I accept your challenge. Since you Inhumans are so shameless, you want to kill me regardless of your face. Okay, then I'll make it happen for you." Oh, right. Just now, I started the full live broadcast of all this. Aren't you thick-skinned? Then let the whole universe see it. You Inhumans are all a bunch of shit. Come. If you want to fight, then I will accompany you for 7 weeks. Brother Su, no. Xingyang's expression changed. The faces of the other peerless geniuses of the human race also changed wildly. Brother Su, this can't be done out of anger. These brats don't have any shame. They are specifically targeting you. You can't agree. Damn it, I can just ignore it. There is no need to agree. Anxious voices kept ringing in the communicator. Everyone, including Xingyang, knew that Zian was indeed very powerful. But no matter how strong it is impossible to fight with other people's void ships like star destroyers. Forget about ordinary void ship captains. There should be no problem. But he is a void ship captain of the peerless genius level. It is completely different from an ordinary void ship captain. Ha ha ha. Okay, you have courage. You promised this yourself. Ha ha ha. You are indeed a brilliant genius and a great person. I apologize for what I said before about you being a coward. Ha ha ha, admire, admire. You can't go back on your word if you agree. Who knows? The Inhumans were overjoyed when they said 733 one by one, and did not give Zian a chance to regret it. Seeing this, the insectoids immediately and hurriedly agreed. He directly held Zian up, fearing that Zian would regret it. Xingyang roared, I belong to QNMB. Come on, come on. Your grandpa Xing will accompany you. Aren't you going to challenge each other? That one, that Star Destroyer, yes, it's you. I want to challenge you to a duel. Are you a coward? Really? Come. The other geniuses on the human race side also kept scolding each other, constantly challenging the geniuses of the Inhumans and insects. But today, the Inhumans and insects made it clear that they don't want to show off. Just act like you didn't hear it. He was still irritating Zian with his own thoughts, and put Zian on a stand, making it difficult for Zian to regret it. In the brilliant number, Zian does what he says. He really broadcast the entire scene live. And the live broadcast location is not anywhere else, but on the Universe Public Forum. The kind that can be seen by any ethnic group. And live broadcast, this scene was completely filmed. Listening to the provocative tactics of the geniuses such as the Inhumans and the insects on the communicator. The corner of Zian's mouth raised a hint of contempt, and he teased, Hey, who are you, netizens of the Inhumans and insects, why are you silent now? Huh? Isn't it a lot of fun on the forum? Didn't you say that I killed your genius in a sneak attack, and then used despicable means to trap and kill your world-destroying ship? To say that my means are looming is not honorable at all times? Oh, good guy, look at the faces of these geniuses like you Inhumans and insects. Ha 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 ha, the void ship captain challenged me as a Star Destroyer captain, and he said it so righteously. How glorious are you guys? Huh? Why don't you come out and talk? Mute? No matter how Zian laughed and ridiculed. In the live broadcast room, netizens from the Inhuman race and Zerg race kept clamoring at the beginning. At this moment, one counts as one. It all felt like someone had strangled their necks. Not a single squeak. But, judging from the fact that the number of viewers in the live broadcast room has not decreased but increased. These bitches obviously didn't leave. There just wasn't a squeak. There really isn't one. Viewed by trillions of people. And every second, countless people poured in. But speaking. But there are only people from the human race of the universe. Frantically cursing and mocking the Inhumans and insects. Call them stinky and shameless. Then one by one, they asked Zian not to accept the challenge of these people who don't want billion. Finally, the buggers couldn't take it anymore. F***K, it's not our great insect race that made or initiated the challenge. It was the Inhuman race's challenge. Doesn't it have anything to do with our insect race? The Inhumans are the most shameless race. What does it have to do with us, the insects? If you want to scold the aliens, why are you scolding us? These remarks of the insectoid people. The Inhumans, who had been scolded by the cosmic humans for a long time until their hearts were swollen, but did not dare to reply, were so angry that they burst into smoke. It's okay if the humans in the universe scold us. We admit it. But what the hell are you buggers? QNMBD. Insects, you deserve to die. You really deserve to die. The most shameless people in the universe are you, the insect-human race. Do you have the right to say that we are human race? That's right. Isn't your buggers Babalutru a shameless coward? At first, he thought he could beat the human Zian, so he launched a challenge, and then laughed at him in all kinds of ways. Then he found that he couldn't beat him, and now he even has his head. We don't dare to show up, we Inhumans challenge Zian, but you insects don't dare. What qualifications do you have to force lie here? Deaf to the buggers. Good guy. The insects and Inhumans immediately became a hot topic on the internet. The human race of the universe. Then sprayed both sides. But the insects and Inhumans were astonished as if they had not seen the insults from the cosmic humans. He directed all his anger and resentment towards the other party. Suddenly, in the live broadcast room, the two races were shouting at each other. There were even countless Inhumans and insects who scolded them so much that they even made fights with them. As a result, in the end, the netizens of the human race didn't care whether they scolded or not scolded. Scolding, they pretended not to see it. If you don't scold me, you'll feel extremely unhappy. Looking at the chaos in the live broadcast room, Zian shook his head and said calmly, "Screen me, feel free to scold me. I hope you will still have some thoughts later." Finished. Don't pay attention to these people anymore. He turned on the communicator, which was also constantly shouting at each other, and said calmly, "Shut up, everyone. Xingyang, there's no need to say anything to you guys. Now that I have accepted this challenge, I will not regret it, bring it on. Don't you want to kill me? Now, I'll give you a chance, go and wait in line. Challenges, I'll take them one by one." As soon as Zian said this, the communicator, which had been making a lot of noise due to scolding, suddenly fell into silence. The next second. "Haha, you are indeed the genius of the human race, Zian. Come on, come on. What else are you talking about? Since I accepted the challenge, let's do it." The captain of the inhuman void ship Tianjiao across the way quickly said loudly. He was deeply afraid that Zian would regret it. Zian stopped talking nonsense. It flew out directly from its own side and was suspended opposite the opponent. Behind, Xingyang and other human race geniuses all changed their expressions. They wanted to say something, but in the end they all shook their heads and sighed, saying nothing. Only the anxiety and worry in his eyes were extremely obvious. This matter. At this point, it's useless to say anything. Only hope. Zian can't be defeated, but at least he can save his life. Even the captain of his own Jinyu ship couldn't help but said in the communicator, "Zian, if you can't beat me later, just admit defeat. There is no shame in admitting defeat. After all, the opponent is the captain of the void ship. Admit defeat and no one will say anything to you. Living is the most important thing." The other party warned. There was also deep worry in his voice. Zian smiled slightly and did not refuse, saying with a smile, "I know. This is what he promised. But, 2.3. Give up? Let's not talk about whether we can beat it or not. Even if you really can't beat it, Zian will never admit defeat. What he represents now is not himself. Represents. It is the face of the human race in the entire universe. Moreover, eventually died. Definitely not myself." Of course, there was no such thing as admitting defeat. He now hopes that the other party will not admit defeat. This challenge is a one-on-one challenge. It is allowed to admit defeat. Once one party chooses to admit defeat, then others on the other side can step in. Although he didn't dare to take action directly against Zian. But there is no problem in intercepting Zian. But this was the good intention of the captain of his own Jinyu ship. Zian would not refuse. Immediately, no longer think about it. Gaze, look directly at the other side. The terrifying murderous aura boiled instantly. A cold voice came from Zian's mouth. "Come." The moment Zian shouted, "Come." Opposite the inhuman void ship Tianjiao, he didn't care about his face at all. Anyway, it's shameless for a void ship to challenge other people's star destroyers. It's better to carry out the shamelessness to the end and kill Zian. I was afraid that he would lose his face, but he hadn't killed Zian yet. After that, I really couldn't hold my head up. The people of the inhuman race will spray him with blood. Prodigies like them. It represents the ethnic group behind it. His shameless behavior made all the people of the inhuman race become shameless with him, but the effect has not yet been achieved. Of course I cannot agree to that. So. The moment Zian shouted, "Come!" he roared. He was the first to attack Zian. And it's the most powerful attack. All weapons that did not require energy condensation or a prelude to launch, but could be launched instantly, were all moving towards Zian. That's a void ship. Void ship weapons. No amount of less is enough. Overwhelming, covering the sky and the sun. The key is that it is extremely powerful. Normally. Not to mention the 06 Star Destroyer. 10 Star Destroyers are not enough in the face of such firepower. Not only that. Those weapons whose energy needs to be condensed also begin to condense immediately. Just wait until the condensation is completed and continue to launch. Nothing else. Just use the most ferocious firepower to kill Zian in the shortest time. In addition, he is a peerless genius. Its accuracy is far beyond the reach of ordinary people. FFLX. Zian is in this situation. It's actually very, very dangerous. Shameless. Damn thing. F***K. You Inhumans are really shameless. The void ship challenged the Star Destroyer and took the lead in launching such an attack. It's a shame for me to be in the same class as your Inhumans. A series of angry curses immediately sounded in the communicator. Look at Zian again. On the contrary, it was him, very calm. In a Star Wars simulation. What dangers and situations have you never encountered? Seriously. As for the other party's methods. In Zian's opinion, it's nothing. He survived numerous rounds of bullets. On the super-large battlefield in Star Wars simulation, the number of cannonballs is unbelievable. The amount in front of me is not even a drizzle. In that case, Zian survived at least half of the time. Now. Nothing at all. The moment the battle begins. The overlapping ability of multidimensional space starships was immediately displayed, in an instant. The overall combat effectiveness of the Brilliance has far exceeded the current level. At least it has reached the level of an immortal ship, or even more. Zian has experienced countless bullets and has long been accustomed to such scenes. Coupled with the Star Wars capabilities of the captain of the World Destroyer ship that have been integrated over the past 8 months, this moment. This void ship is opposite. In Zian's eyes. In fact, there is no longer any threat. Slow to say. Actually. Everything happens only in an instant, seeing that those artillery shells and missiles are about to attack. Xinjiang, as well as the captain of his own Jinyu ship, had even gritted their teeth and prepared for the rescue. Although rescuing Zian will have unpredictable consequences. However, both Xinjiang and the captain of the Jinyu ship on our side believed that Zian's importance to the human race in the universe exceeds everything else. Even the most outstanding geniuses of the human race in the universe would not dare to step into the battlefield again because of this. We must also protect Zian, the importance of Zian. It's really too big, too big. But obviously they are not needed. It was at this time. Huge brilliant number. But it showed unimaginable extreme sensitivity. Like a ghost who knows how to teleport. In this dense and overwhelming artillery shells and missiles. Like dancing. Elegant. Relaxing. Freehand, dodged shells and missiles one after another. Even some artillery shells and missiles have locking and tracking capabilities. But the anti-aircraft guns on the Brilliance are not just decorations. With an outrageous degree of accuracy, the shells and missiles were detonated in the air. Even if occasionally 1 or 2 shells hit the Brilliance. But the energy shield on the Brilliance is like the toughest carapace. The huge power only made it tremble a few times. Tat. The huge energy was replenished as quickly as possible, and it returned to normal. The most important is, at the same time as extreme evasion and extreme interception, the Brilliant's main and secondary guns as well as missiles. There is no rest either. Main and secondary guns as well as missiles. It's like having eyes. Accurate. Unmistakable. At an extremely cunning angle. From an angle that makes it inevitable for the other party to avoid it. Hit the opponent's energy shield. How accurate is it? 100 rounds. There may only be 2 shots at most that are dodged by the opponent. Looking at the other party, the other side fired 100 rounds of artillery shells. At most, only 2 shots hit Zian. The most important thing is brilliant number. It also showed an attack power that was not what a star destroyer should have. Golden legendary quality. 3 crossfires from the main guns. Multidimensional space starships overlap. Extremely majestic creatures can add. All kinds of things add up. Let the main and secondary guns of the Brilliance still have the power of missiles. It is even at the level of a void ship. And it's not the most common void ship, although not to the level of monster or genius. At least it is the quality of the void ships of those geniuses. Coupled with Zian's terrifying attack accuracy. What does this mean? This means the 2 sides only competed for 1 round. Zian's side, the Brilliance's energy shield hasn't even been broken yet. But the opponent's energy shield was directly destroyed. The cockpit armor, core armor, and glass. They were all dug into holes. Shocked. Everyone was stunned. The Inhumans, who were originally extremely excited, were stunned. The insectoids, who had been waiting for Zian to be killed, were stunned. The cosmic humans, who were originally worried and ready to take action at any time, were stunned. 787 In fact, Zian himself was slightly surprised. But it soon calmed down. Today's combat effectiveness. It seems to be beyond my imagination? But it's normal. Star Wars simulation in progress. What he faced was group after group of enemies. But now, what he faced was just an enemy. Threat and difficulty are naturally not on the same level. That means, in fact, his true combat effectiveness. The highest level should be comparable to the most common longitudinal starship captain? It's definitely incomparable to those at the Tianjiao level. Even monsters and geniuses cannot compare. Ordinary starship captains don't seem to have any problems. Think of this. A heartfelt smile couldn't help but appear on Zian's face. This time, the top brass of the Universal Human Federation really gave themselves a huge gift. 200% of the destroyer captain's lifetime Star Wars experience and skills. In other words, it is equivalent to a lifetime of Star Wars experience and skills of 2 destroyer ship captains. Coupled with Zian's own understanding. A peerless genius-level void ship. In front of myself. It seems, there is no ability to struggle. Of course. This is mainly due to the incredible performance of the Tsuetsan itself. Otherwise, no matter how powerful your skills are, your weapons will not be able to break through the opponent's defense. That's also for nothing. Now, Starship performance is adequate. Star Wars is powerful enough. B. It's the time when the other party loses his wife and loses his troops. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic, inside the bright number. Zian didn't care whether the people around him were shocked or not. At this moment, in his eyes, there are only enemies. Concentrate on dodging the opponent's shells. Attack with all your concentration. After the first round of attacks. Other side. It was as if he finally woke up. Without saying a word, he reflexively started to run away like crazy. This is a knee-jerk reaction. Instinct reaction when encountering extreme danger or death threat. He started to flee in panic. B. His escape, but it happened to be in Zian's rhythm. One shell followed another. Hit the opponent accurately. Even if the other party's cab is unable to be blown up directly because of the other party's escape. But that's okay. Zian didn't expect to be able to kill an extremely talented void ship captain like he did with other people. That's pure nonsense. Although there is no instant kill. But in one shell after another. The damage to the opponent's ship dropped crazily. Exploded. It's just a matter of time, and the other party is not really without any power to fight back. A peerless genius is a peerless genius. Even while running away. He still shot at Zian at the most accurate angle he could. Still able to dodge with the utmost agility he could muster. It did create some resistance for Zian. Especially those shells and missiles. When the opponent exerts bioenergetic control. Greatly increased power. Increased accuracy. The power of void ship-level biological energy is still extremely terrifying. Even with the brilliant performance of the brilliant number, after withstanding more than 30 shells. The energy shield was finally destroyed. But the other party's damage is even more serious. Both engines were blown out. The left rear of the Starship was penetrated. 2 of the main guns were misfired, and 17 of the secondary guns were misfired. There are also anti-aircraft guns, missile launch bays, etc. They were all beaten up a lot. Even if the opponent's evolution value is being frantically repaired, it still won't help. It can't keep up with the speed of damage. This scene. It really left everyone present stunned. Even ordinary people fighting on the battlefield around them. They all paused in unison. Everyone looked at this scene stupidly, incredulously, and in disbelief. A void ship. Being chased by AF*** King Star Destroyer. Looking at it, a void ship of the peerless genius level is like a bereaved dog, running away from the honey with its tail. There are also more than 20 trillion netizens of all races in the universe watching the human race in the live broadcast room. One counts as one. More than 20 trillion internet users watched it at the same time. But in the live broadcast room. But there was no one left to speak. One by one, they all looked at this scene stupidly. Looking at this scene that shattered the understanding of everyone in the universe. Everyone. There is an illusion like being in a dream. Look at the ladies of the brilliant fleet again. Haitong's eyes were like water at this time, watching gently. Qin Fuyue's beautiful eyes were filled with admiration. Miao Xiaomi's beautiful eyes were filled with obsession. The 3 girls are Hu Qiqi, Bai Xiaoyuan and Chu Tianga. A pair of eyes full of autumn water. It is the unabashed love that reaches the core of love. Only when no one is watching. Only 2 girls, Bai Xiaoyao and Chu Tianga, can express all their thoughts and scrupulously. B01E. Haitang and the other girls are very clear about the thoughts of these 2 girls. But he has never shown it in front of them and Zian. Even if you look closely, you will even find the giant stone and the iron mountain. The intoxicating eyes of the 2 girls, Taj and Taimei. But soon, the obsession and intoxication in his eyes quickly dissipated. It is loneliness, regret, and sigh. They know. There is absolutely no chance that they would have the slightest chance. Even if Taimei Taiji has already started to change herself. I reduced my long nose hair. The long hairs on the armpits, arms, and legs were also pulled out. And start whitening every day, every day. Even talking started to act like a trap, but they still know. And Zian. There is no possibility at all. In fact, it's not their fault. Excellent like Zian. So many years of getting along day and night again. How is it possible to be calm in your heart? F***K. This? Fight back. Fight back quickly. If you run, you will die faster. This is really a star destroyer? Hiss. I must be dreaming. I must be dreaming. Unbelievable sounds came from the communicators of the Inhumans and insects. Their voices were full of horror. It's like seeing a ghost, this scene. It deeply stimulates their souls. They really couldn't believe what they were seeing. So shocking. That's outrageous. Already, far beyond their understanding. They know Su Zian better than ordinary geniuses. He is definitely the kind of person who has the potential to be a great devil. But now Su Zian's strength has even exceeded the potential of the big arm press. The great demon king, who is now number 1 on the list of geniuses, is an unparalleled genius from the Inhuman race. And once this peerless talent from the Inhuman race, he also fought against the unparalleled geniuses at a higher level. But at that time, the opponent could only go 1 level higher. And they are still evenly matched and cannot kill each other. But what about Su Zian? What the hell is this damn thing now? Not to mention that it went beyond 2 levels. Damn, he's the type to beat me violently. Such a talent. Such talent. Their worldview collapsed. In this world, are there really people with such talent and strength? Ha 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 ha. Let you be arrogant. Ha 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 ha. Su Zian. Brother Su, Father Su. Awesome. Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Brother Su, you will be my idol from now on. I'm shocked, I'm really shocked. This is so awesome, isn't it? Ha ha ha. On the opposite side, don't even think about admitting defeat. Do you want to admit defeat? You, a void ship captain, take the initiative to challenge, and if you still admit defeat, believe me, from now on, you Inhumans will be rubbish. Trash, I will never be able to hold my head up again. This last sentence. It was Xinjiang who said it. He seemed to see that the captain of the void ship opposite had the intention to admit defeat, because the other party was already running towards the Inhumans. Therefore, regardless of being surprised, he immediately blocked the opponent's escape route through the universe public channel. Of course. Just a verbal seal. If the other party really gives in regardless of everything, there's nothing you can do about it. It's obvious. When Xinjiang said these words. Even if this person wants to admit defeat, the Inhumans will not agree. I saw him really running towards me. The expressions of these peerless geniuses from the Inhuman race suddenly changed, and they all retreated at the same time. At the same time. In the communicator on the Inhuman side. Damn it, don't admit defeat. Even if you die this time, you must never admit defeat. This matter concerns the face of our Inhuman race. If you admit defeat again, we will never be able to hold our heads high again. Fight. Fight to the death. Don't embarrass us Inhumans. If you dare to admit defeat, if you don't use Su Zian to attack, I will kill you first. This last sentence also comes from the captain of the vertical starship that the Inhumans work with. His voice was somber. He was also extremely angry. Original. The fact that one's own void ship challenged the Star Destroyer was already extremely embarrassing in the universe. Now that I think about it, I want to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. B. In order to be able to kill Su Zian, it is shameful to lose face. But if you can't defeat someone now, if you go the other way and admit defeat. That's just as Xinjiang said. At least the Inhumans and their peerless geniuses of this generation will never be able to hold their heads up again from now on. Even the great demon king of the Inhuman race will be laughed at crazily for this. The entire alien race will be laughed at to death. This is something they cannot accept under any circumstances. Would rather die. And never admit defeat. Listen to what your own people are saying. This panicked, remorseful captain of the Inhuman void ship turned green in his intestines. People are stupid. A deep sense of despair. Suddenly. It permeated his whole heart. Bitter. Unwilling to do so. Regret. Horrified. And desperate. In despair, wild beasts will fight in a trapped beast. Dogs will jump over walls when they are anxious. Not to mention people. Knowing that he may die today. When he knew that his own people would never save him, and even insisted on admitting defeat, he would kill Zian first without taking action. He's crazy. Ah. Die. You die. He frantically used all his evolution points to repair the starship. He had no scruples anymore and used the biological energy like a flood. Desperate and hysterical. He didn't even bother to avoid it. Driving a starship, while firing all the artillery shells and missiles towards Zian. On the other hand, he rushed towards the brilliance in a frantic manner. Look at his posture. If the shells can't kill Zian, then die together with Zian. Die. I have to take him with me too. Only. The idea is good. It's of no use at all. Zian. How could we give him such a chance? Especially when the other person is going crazy. There are too many flaws exposed. Found an opportunity. Zian directs the linkage of a missile, plus the main and secondary guns. The missile easily smashed the gap that the opponent had repaired with a huge amount of evolution value once again. The main gun easily punched holes in all the protection of the opponent's cockpit. The final high-explosive shell for the secondary battery. Then the driver and the driver's cab were directly smashed into pieces. Before the other person dies. For 33, Zian could still clearly see the other party's eyes that were as wide as bells. Full of regret. And nostalgia for life. R.O. If he didn't want to kill Zian and become famous in the universe, if it weren't for Zian's Star Destroyer level, I think I could easily take on Zian. There are not so many ifs in this world. His choice. In exchange for his current ending. He was supposed to have a great life and an unlimited future. Remorse. It became his last thought before dying. Died. This void ship is more than 32,000 meters long. A 6,999.9 meter Star Destroyer by Zian. The whole process was almost as if it was pressed to the ground and rubbed. Until the opponent and the cockpit were completely reduced to debris. People on the scene. People around. People in the live broadcast room. All. It was all deathly silent. Next. At this moment, Zian's calm and indifferent voice suddenly sounded on the universal public channel. It was also when Zian finished speaking. The maintenance drones and supply drones of Bai Xiaoyuan and Chu Tiange just arrived. Repairs and supplies are being carried out on the Brilliance. Perhaps. The only ones in the venue who were not stunned by the shock were probably the girls of the Brilliant Fleet. They were still surprised that Zian could so easily destroy a peerless genius-level void ship. But it was just a surprise. Because in their minds, Zian, already the kind that is omnipotent. Even if Zian said that he could blow up an eternal ship now, they would believe it unconditionally. Following Zian's words. Everyone finally woke up. However, the unparalleled geniuses from the Inhumans and insects. Those unparalleled geniuses who had been sneering before, thinking of killing Zian. At this moment. Opened his mouth. But he was stunned that no one said a word. Even those two peerless geniuses at the starship level. Adelaide. Also silent, without speaking. It's not that I don't dare. The combat effectiveness Zian showed just now. Seriously. They were sure that they could easily kill Zian. But no matter how shameless they are, they still have a basic bottom line. The bottom line of being one of the most dominant groups in the universe. If they really dare to speak out and challenge Zian to a star destroyer at the level of a starship, I'm afraid Zian doesn't need to take action at all. The top leaders of the Inhumans and insects locked them on the ground and ran away. Their people will launch the most violent abuse against them. Don't be surprised. The reason is simple. As the three top dominant groups, they want face. Being shameless once is enough. No more. How could it be possible? Moreover, this shameless thing has been done many times. Prestige will be lost very, very quickly. Those ethnic groups who vassal them may no longer be convinced by them. What's going on? They are all the pinnacle hegemonic group of the universe. Zian from the human race in the universe is so powerful and at the same level that he can't even defeat a peerless prodigy? Are our own geniuses all shit-eaters? So. Although they really, really wanted to kill Zian. But they can't. Duh. They don't speak. With the battle scene of Zian just now. Which void ship captain on the scene dares to take up this challenge? No, not a single one. Knowing that he must die. Go and die again. Isn't that stupid? But. Sometimes. Something. It's not like they can avoid it if they don't respond. There was no sound from them. Zian smiled lightly and said, "Before I come. You guys are waiting for me here every day, waiting to challenge me. Originally I didn't have time to talk to you, to be honest. What kind of challenge of yours, in my eyes, is childish and ridiculous? However, you have challenged my bottom line again and again. Okay, here I come. Although you don't want to lose face, just send out the void ship to challenge me, okay, I will accept it. Why, now that you see how powerful I am, you don't dare to do it again? Are you shrinking back again? Are you shrinking? Where's your arrogance? Where's your arrogance? How about your longitudinal starship, come too? Come and challenge me? As long as you dare to challenge me, I dare to accept it. However. The words came out. The Inhumans and the insects, the two most talented people in the spacecraft, didn't even say a word. Gritting his teeth, that's it? If your void ship challenges me, even a star destroyer will accept it. Now I challenge you with a star destroyer, and you don't have anyone to fight? Ha ha ha, Inhumans? Insects? Unparalleled geniuses? Ha 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 ha. I'm laughing to death, I'm really laughing to death. I am so greedy for life and afraid of death. I really can't imagine how you could dare to say that I am afraid of death before. Just you? Seriously, I'm not targeting any of you, I'm targeting all of you, including the race behind you, waste. You are just trash. Being the same genius as you, I feel that I have been greatly insulted. Since you don't dare to fight. Then get lost. I'm too lazy to kill you, you dirty mine. This time. Zian hasn't finished speaking yet. Sudden. An extremely angry roar interrupted all his words. Shut up. Don't you just want to provoke us? I'm telling you, I'm here to fight you. There are no cowards in our insect race. The voice fell. Suddenly, a star destroyer flew out of the insect race. The overwhelming anger seemed to fill the whole world. The next second. I'm coming too. I accept your challenge. We, the Inhumans, are all warriors. If we fight, we will fight. Don't insult our insect race like this. Today, either you die or I die. Today, let's fight to the death. Inhumans. Buggers. The last trace of pride of these peerless geniuses. He was criticized to pieces by Zian. They knew that what they said before was all Zian's provocation. But. It is undeniable. Although it made them angry, Zian was right. This time, so many of them were scared. He was scared because Zian's true strength far exceeded everyone's expectations. Then their tribe, from now on, will really be laughed at by the human race of the universe and the billions of tribes in the universe for hundreds of millions of years. Suddenly, one by one stood up with angry faces. One by one accepted Zian's challenge. Today. It's not that Zian died. It's them who die, May. Xingyang just said a word. He was interrupted by Zian. You don't need to interfere. Xingyang opened his mouth and finally nodded without saying anything else. It's not that he's worried about anything else. The main reason is that I am worried that after each challenge, the biological energy accepted will not be enough. Since Zian is very confident himself. Naturally, it would be hard for him to say anything else. Just you. Zian suddenly pointed at the captain of an immortal ship of the insect race and said calmly. Star Destroyer. Zian is not interested. The captain of the insect immortal ship chosen by Zian suddenly trembled. Immediately he gritted his teeth and came forward with red eyes. He knows. All he has to do is step forward. So this time, he will definitely die. There is no doubt about this. He couldn't refuse even more. Only one death. Etc. Seeing that the unparalleled genius of the insect race is about to come out. Suddenly a voice sounded. Immediately afterwards, this gloomy voice said in a deep voice, Chen Zian. Don't worry, we, the insect race, are not greedy for life and afraid of death, let alone, can't bear to lose. The reason why I stopped you is very simple. Since they are all challenges. Then do you dare to let your dazzling fleet come together? You and your dazzling fleet, we are also on the calendar at the same time. And, you can choose who will be on our side, how about it? If not for this last sentence. I'm afraid there will be a lot of abuse again. Even this time, there is no need for the cosmic human race to speak. The netizens of the Zerg race who watched the whole live broadcast would be able to spray this person bloody. But, with this last sentence, no one will say anything more. After all, it is Zian who chooses. Zian plus the girls of the Brilliant Fleet, Japan District. So even if Zian chooses 9 insect void ship captains, the insects will all recognize him. But Zian's eyes suddenly moved and he sneered. This human race. It's really a good trick to play, the reason is simple. Look around. There are more than 40 people in the insect race, but there are only 5 Star Destroyer captains. The captains of the immortal ship are the most numerous. Next is the Star Destroyer. Finally, a vertical starship. Zian smiled. 5 Star Destroyers. The other 4 are destined to be captains of the immortal ship at the very least. They are all outstanding talents. I am definitely strong enough. It's impossible for the girls of the Brilliant Fleet to be able to leapfrog and fight like me, right? Is it possible that, except for the Brilliant Fleet, everyone else is a fake genius? And this? Apparently not only Zian found out. There was no sound from the Inhumans. On the human side of the universe, Xingyang and others cursed angrily as soon as they got the right name. Zian suddenly said on the public channel of the cosmic human race, Xingyang, just pretend you don't know. Xingyang's words reached his throat, but he had to choke them back. In the live broadcast room, the Inhumans were silent. The insectoids were also silent. EXX. This is also quite embarrassing. But Zian can refuse, right? Only the netizens of the cosmic human race were shouting curses. At the same time, tell Zian not to be fooled. Zian smiled coldly and said leisurely, okay. Accept the form of your challenge, in addition. We will follow this form later. Any questions? I originally planned to be rejected by Zian. But I never expected it. Zian actually accepted such a challenge. The unrivaled geniuses of the insects and Inhumans were immediately overjoyed. If it is 1v1, even the captain of the void ship will definitely die. But there are so many helpers now. Although Zian also has so many helpers. But Can't everyone in the brilliant fleet be able to leapfrog and fight? That being the case. So it shouldn't be a problem for one immortal ship to fight 2 or even 3 brilliant fleets, right? Thus, this will free up the combat power of several starships. This freed up combat power. If you can't defeat Zian, you will die, and you will drag a few people from the brilliant fleet with you. Can beat. That's the best. So, almost immediately, the Inhumans and the insects made a plan. Let 1 or 2 starships delay Zian as much as possible. The remaining starships. Then use the most ferocious attack method to kill all the girls in the fleet. After killing them, gather all the starships to deal with Zian together. Tate. It's the one with the best chance of winning. And, even though he still didn't beat Zian in the end, that would at least kill the girls of the brilliant fleet. It's worth it too. No way. They must be prepared for this. Zian. It has truly become so powerful that it makes them, the peerless geniuses, despair. No problem. Okay. The brilliant genius is really happy. We don't have any problems. Don't worry, with this fighting method, we will fight to the end today, and we will never back down. The peerless geniuses from the inhuman and insect races said excitedly one by one. I am deeply afraid that Zian will regret it. Xingyang and others felt a toothache when they saw it. I have never seen such a shameless person. But, since Zian has warned them, they could only glare and say nothing. See them agree to come down. Zian pointed at the 8 people on the insect race side and said, "It's just the 8 of you." Zian pointed. "Those are the 5 star destroyers and the 3 immortals. 0, please give me flowers. Plus the immortal ship that was supposed to challenge Zian. The number of enemy immortal ships has reached 4. The reason why Zian wanted to take all 5 star destroyers with him, the reason is simple. This time, this group of inhumans and insects, he was not going to let anyone go. All must die. Come one by one. Let's start with the weakest one. Increase slowly. This way. It also gave the inhumans and insects a glimmer of hope. A glimmer of hope that he could win. Only in this way. Only slowly and step by step. Eat up all this group of people. Leave no one behind. The geniuses of the insect race who were selected by Zian immediately walked out as if they were dead. Extremely solemn. But attention. But they were all put on the girls. Then they arranged tactics for each other. And Qing Fuyue and other women. It was as early as when Zian answered. .00. They came to Zian one after another. Compared to the worries of Xingyang and others, he seemed extremely calm. Let's put it that way. Before realizing the Star Wars experience of the captain of the destroyer ship. With the fighting power of the 8 of them, even if they were to face 8 immortal ships, it was still uncertain who would win and who would lose. And the more likely probability is that they win. Because Zian is here. Now. After comprehending the Star Wars experience. Not to mention 8 immortal ships. With their current combat effectiveness, the cooperation of starships, and the cooperation of Star Wars. Even 8 void ships. There is no certainty who will win or lose. Likewise, there is an 80% probability that they will win. That is 4/10 of the lifetime Star Wars experience of a world-destroying peerless powerhouse. Because I haven't tried it. So, this is just an estimate. And in fact, their real fighting power, especially the real fighting power when they cooperate with each other. It is much more powerful than they expected. Both sides are in position. Fighting. On the verge of breaking out. Looking at the other party who was extremely dignified. Zian looked cold and said calmly, "Now that you are ready. Then, let's start." And as his voice fell. As expected. The other party has already made all preparations. Immediately, he took the lead and launched the most violent attack on his own side. An immortal ship and a star destroyer came specifically to target Zian. There are 3 remaining immortals and 4 star destroyers. It happens to be the same. Killing towards the girls. He really treats the girls as soft persimmons. The girls must be dealt with immediately. Then it's better to concentrate. Let's deal with ourselves together. Only. Very good idea. Reality. Always so cruel. Female. He has also experienced countless battles. On the battlefield, he followed Zian through life and death, going to the enemy's rear again and again. Faced with this kind of prepared attack, there was not even the slightest disturbance in their hearts. The overwhelming attack, without even a glance. Because there are 2 girls from Thailand and Thailand. All attacks. You can't even get close to them. And at the moment when the opponent's artillery shells and missiles were launched. Female. He also immediately started taking action. This time, in the true sense too. Showing their fangs to the whole universe. First up are Chin Fuyua and Hufchichi Ernu. As a firepower ship. Their main guns, secondary guns, and missiles. So much that it's outrageous. All the defense and other functions on their starships gave way to firepower. FFLX. The moment they began to cover their firepower, that ferocious and violent firepower. There are so many. A cursory look. It was actually more firepower than the 7,290 starships on the opposite side. 2 starships, but it has more firepower than the opponent's 7 starships. What is this concept? Anyway. At the moment when the 2 women were covering with full firepower. The people on the other side, the surrounding people, the live broadcast room, and everyone all opened their mouths. His face was full of disbelief. EXXX. There have been many videos of brilliant fleet battles leaked in the past. But where can it be as comprehensive as it is now? All those kinds of videos were secretly filmed. Since it's a candid shot. Of course it's impossible to be so intuitive. The most important thing is, it doesn't matter that the firepower of the 2 women is stronger than that of the opponent. Over the past 7 months, I have learned that the Star Wars ability of the captain of the World Destroyer ship is fully demonstrated at this moment. Its accuracy. Compared to the opposite side. How far away, how far away? The attacks from the opposite side were not very accurate, and they were all intercepted by Taimei and Taj. On our side, out of 10,000 shells, at least 6,000 hit the opponent. What else is there to do? Not to mention. And meow meow. And begonia. Let's talk about the battle on the girls' side first. Shells from both sides. Soon they were intertwined. Everyone was shocked to find out. Many of the cannonballs fired by the 7 starships of the insect race were dodged. Then there was no escaping. The 2 daughters, Taimei and Taj. It also truly shows the horror that belongs to them. There are countless medium-range anti-aircraft missiles and short-range anti-aircraft artillery all over their hulls. Shot after shot was fired. Then with unparalleled accuracy, most of the artillery shells and missiles were detonated accurately in the air. The reason why it is medium-range and short-range defense is because long-range air defense missiles are not used at all now. And anti-aircraft missiles and artillery alone can solve most of the attacks. Leftover. Then they all bombarded the energy shield of their starship. A scene that shocked everyone happened. That's at least more than 400 missiles and artillery shells. Attack the energy shields of the 2 female starships, respectively. Normally. Forget about the energy shield. Even the starship itself can be blown up in an instant. 18. The energy shields of the 2 women only trembled violently. Then the energy in the energy shield device quickly replenishes those parts that were attacked at a super-fast speed visible to the naked eye. It turned out to be. Even their energy shields were not destroyed. Fortunately, There were more than 20 armor-piercing shells or penetrating missiles that penetrated the energy shield and bombarded their starship body. But it turns out, it just left a small mark. There's no after that. Even more than a dozen maintenance drones appeared out of nowhere. Rush forward immediately. Such superficial scars. It was repaired in an instant. That is to say, all the first rounds of missiles and shells from the 7 bugger starships. It only caused negligible, even scratching, damage to the brilliant fleet. On the other hand, the overwhelming missiles and artillery shells, at least half. It all hit them. The energy shields of the 4 star destroyers were instantly destroyed. Even part of the hull was damaged. The energy shield of one of the 3 immortal ships was also destroyed. Although the energy shields of the remaining 2 ships were not destroyed, they were riddled with holes and were crumbling. A complete flameout could occur at any time. However, this just the beginning. Now that the girls have started fighting. Well, of course there's more than meets the eye. Just when they were still in a state of panic, suddenly, the 2 starships that appeared out of nowhere will completely become their talisman. One of the starships looks like a hedgehog. There were countless main gun shells densely packed on it, and countless main gun shells were fired that made people's hearts tremble. Originally, the 2 immortal ships were still barely in a stalemate with their shields. Its shield was easily destroyed. And the remaining main gun shells, with unrivaled power and precision, easily blow up those 4 void ships. The 3 immortal ships were beaten and severely damaged. But they didn't blow up their starship. 18. With the arrival of Meow Meow. It's all over. Meow Meow. Just like the explosive moment. The starship's main and secondary guns are of the highest specification and most powerful. Although the main and secondary guns on Meow Xiaomi's Meow Meow are pitifully small compared to the weapons of Qin Fuyue, Hu Qiqi, and Hai Tang. But the power is outrageous. Just say it. Meow Xiaomi's starship only has a few main guns and more than 20 secondary guns. But the space on her starship will not be ample, because almost all the space. They are all used as bases for carrying the main and secondary guns. The base of one of her main guns is equivalent to the size of the bases of 10 or 20 Haitang main guns. The same goes for the secondary gun. The bigger the base, the stronger the energy. The penetrating ability is even more incredible. Especially after the blessing of the 3 crossfire evolution technology. The remaining 3 immortal ships were consumed a lot by Haitang, before they even reacted. The cockpit was easily blown open by Meow Xiaomi. Even the power of cannonballs. It penetrated directly from the cockpit all the way, and penetrated from the tail of these 3 immortal ships. The power is so terrifying. And with the fall of these 3 immortal ships, everything. It's all over. Slow to say. Actually, all in all, it all happens in just a moment. The whole journey. Not even 10 seconds. Really, everyone's thoughts were still focused on the terrifying firepower of Qin Fuyue and Hu Qiqi Ernu. Everything that happened next happened so fast that they couldn't even keep up. Everything. It's all over. Those 7 peerless genius-level star 0.1 ships, 3 immortal ships, and 4 void ships. That's all. Just 1 round. Then he was instantly killed by the girls. There is no suspense. So easy. It's like taking a leisurely stroll. Suddenly. From the corner of everyone's eyes. Suddenly saw it. I don't know when. Zian's brilliant account. Already stopped next to the girls. Then look behind Zian, the explosion of that immortal and that star destroyer. It seems to be coming to an end. Judging from the extent of the explosions of these 2 starships. Obviously. These 2 starships. It's in an instant. It's really instant. He was killed by Zian. This scene. Make a huge battlefield. Let these peerless talents come to the scene. Let the warriors of the three ethnic groups watching the battle around. Let the captains of the three Jinyu ships. The live broadcast room has reached hundreds of millions of people with 10 billion views. All fallen into deathly silence. Silence is the blessing tonight, ah. Silence is today's battlefield. The entire battlefield. It was so silent that you could hear a needle drop. Only the faint light of explosions from other war zones in the far distance proved that this was not a frozen scene. The geniuses of the Inhumans, insects, and cosmic humans. All of them opened their mouths to almost their maximum extent. But even so, they still couldn't express the horror in their hearts at this moment. Everything today. It was far beyond their imagination. Even Xingyang and others are like this, although Xingyang and others had acted together with the brilliant fleet before. But at that time they were fully focused on fighting the enemy and didn't pay much attention to it at all. Secondly, that's when they can be sure that the brilliant fleet at that time was definitely not as strong as it is now. How long has it been? Only 10 months, right? Then you tell me that the brilliant fleet has only been in power for 10 months, and its strength has skyrocketed to what it is now. This strength has at least increased 3 times, right? Opened a plugin? At the same time, they discovered something that made them feel extremely horrified. #BT. Everyone in the brilliant fleet. All. They all seem to have reached the level of peerless talent in the Star Wars field. As for the members of the brilliant fleet, their cultivation fields have reached the level of peerless geniuses. This is recognized and known by everyone in the universe. But after today's battle, suddenly discovered. Not to mention Zian. These 8 women from the brilliant fleet. All of them are extremely talented, and among them, there is also a Star Wars talent with the highest proportion. Speechless. Everyone. Speechless. The Inhumans and insects, staring at this scene blankly. A tremor came from their bones, making them feel cold all over. Look at the 2 spaceship captains of the Inhumans and the insects. This moment. Their eyes burst out with almost crazy killing intent. Kill. Must be killed. Zian. And his brilliant fleet. Must. Gotta kill. Horrible. This combat effectiveness. This potential. It was so terrifying that at their level, they were all cold. They suddenly felt. Even if. Break the rules. As a result, their geniuses no longer dare to step into the battlefield. This is Zian and his brilliant fleet. They all must be killed. A Zian. It has already made the Inhumans and insects feel a great threat. If he had another such a terrifying fleet under his command. Once they grow to the level of a vertical starship, or even a town ship, or even a supreme ship, that time. It will be a huge disaster for both of their groups. One person is powerful. And a fleet is powerful at the same time. This concept is completely different. Don't think that a fleet can be formed as long as it matches the realm. Even if the girls of the brilliant fleet are gone, can she still replace them with 8 more peerless geniuses of the same level? In fact, this is not the case at all. That kind of tacit understanding that has grown up from low-level cultivation is definitely not something that can be easily replaced. To put it simply, even if 16 Star Destroyers were to replace the brilliant fleet, they would not be able to reach this level. Unless time goes back. Zian can start from the frigate level and grow up with the girls. Regardless of the length of time, only then can we reach this level. 38. If you break the rules, he and his fleet will die. After this idea emerged from their minds, they could no longer suppress it. That almost boiling murderous aura seemed to solidify the entire universe. However, Just when they were preparing to attack Zian and the brilliant fleet regardless of everything and breaking the rules. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying coercion suddenly locked onto them. This terrifying pressure was like a bucket of cold water poured down on them, instantly calming them down. Extreme fear emerged from my heart. World Destroyer. World Destroyer. This must be the pressure of the World Destroyer ship. All the murderous intent of the two people suddenly turned into panic. But then, they suddenly discovered, this pressure does not come from this battlefield, but from outside the battlefield. Battlefield. It's not a closed space. Although there is a wormhole star gate that can be accessed directly, it does not mean that it can only be entered through the wormhole star gate. To be honest, the battlefield is a normal large galaxy, and it is also bordered by the surrounding large galaxies. However, because this large galaxy is located on the border, and most of the surrounding areas have space turbulence, it is a battlefield. That is to say, the human race in the universe actually has a world-destroying peerless expert guarding the entrance to the battlefield. The other party didn't come in. Therefore, it does not violate the unspoken rules. As long as the opponent comes in, it is equivalent to re-upgrading this A-level battlefield. But now they are at the entrance of the battlefield, so it doesn't count as a violation. In fact, the Inhumans and insects, because of the special nature of this A-level battlefield, have world-destroying peerless experts guarding the door. This is not surprising. But now, the world-destroying peerless powerhouse of the cosmic human race directly released pressure to lock them. It was a clear warning to them not to act recklessly. The consequences of messing up them. Absolutely unbearable. As expected. They calmed down instantly. Not only that. At the same time, their communicators also rang out the voices of their respective world-destroying peerless experts. Calm down. Zian must be killed, but not in this situation. To kill him by force in this situation, let's not say whether it is possible or not. Once he is really killed, a war of genocide will most likely break out and the SSS-level battlefield will begin. Calm. The solemn instructions from their respective world-destroying peerless experts made them feel scared. Fortunately, I didn't take action right away. Otherwise, the consequences. It's really unpredictable. It's definitely not something they can afford, at this moment. Inside the bright number. Zian's cold eyes swept over the two captains of the spaceship, the Inhumans and the insects. Seeing that they immediately retracted their murderous intent, they didn't bother to pay attention to them anymore. His eyes swept over the quiet Inhumans and Zerg geniuses, and finally locked on the Inhumans, and said calmly, you, and a few of you. Now, it's your turn to pay 990 yuan. Since you want me to die, since you want to challenge me so much, I'll give you a chance today. Zian, pointing at the star destroyers and immortal ship geniuses of the Inhumans. Don't give them a chance at all. Now that it's started. Then kill them all without leaving anyone behind. Of course. Except Babalutru. Yes. Babalutru. Zian just wanted to keep him. In fact, there are a total of 6 star destroyer prodigies on the bugger side, including Babalutru. But Zian just missed him because he wanted to keep him. Let him feel it. What is called life worse than death? On the Inhuman side. Then there is nothing more to say. From top to bottom, all must die. The expressions on the faces of the geniuses from the Inhuman race were extremely ugly. And in a pair of eyes. However, one can see various emotions such as panic, despair, unwillingness, and anger that cannot be concealed. But their previous words and their many shameless behaviors before were lingering in my mind at this moment. There is no room for them. He could only grit his teeth and fly out from the crowd. The rest of the geniuses of the Inhumans, especially the star-level genius of the Inhumans, opened their mouths. But in the end nothing was said. He looked at Zian blankly. In the eyes. Full of confusion. Human talent. Is it really possible to be as defiant as Zian? Why his talent? It's been so incredible that. Is it beyond his understanding? He was silent. Also confused. Even more depressed. Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.